The massive ship floated in the darkness of space like a metal city. Commander Hana stood on the bridge of the Nexus Prime, watching the stars through the wide windows. Her blue skin had patterns that glowed softly when she was thinking hard. Today, those patterns were very bright. "The human ship is coming closer," said her second officer, pointing at the screen. A small ship moved toward them. It looked simple compared to the other ships around the Nexus Prime. The Crick ships looked like giant metal insects. The Theron ships were made of living crystal that sparkled in the starlight. The Marathi didn't need ships at all. They just floated in space like colorful clouds. But the human ship was just metal and fire. Nothing special. Nothing that should worry anyone. Hana had seen many new species join the Galactic Council. Most of them were scared during their first meeting. They knew they were small and weak compared to the older races. They asked for protection and help. They promised to follow all the rules. The humans were different. When their ship docked with the Nexus Prime, only 4 people came out. Most new species brought dozens of officials and guards. The humans brought just 4 people in simple clothes. The leader was a man named Deho. He was not very tall, with dark hair and calm eyes. He walked into the great meeting hall like he owned it. He did not look around in wonder like other new species did. He did not seem afraid of the huge room or the strange aliens watching him. "Welcome to the Galactic Council," Hana said in the common language that all species used. "I am Commander Hana of the Veltari Empire. We are here to decide if your species can join us." Deho bowed his head a little. "Thank you, Commander. I am Deho, speaking for Earth and all humans. We are honored to be here." The meeting hall was enormous. Seats rose up in circles around the center floor. Each section was made for different types of aliens. The Creeks liked dark, warm places. The Theron needed bright light for their crystal bodies. The Marathi floated in special containers filled with gas. Hundreds of aliens watched as Deho walked to the center. Most new species would shake with fear. Deho just looked around calmly, like he was counting how many there were. "Before we begin," said Veltar, the council leader, "we must tell you about the dangers of space. There are things out there that hunt and kill, pirates who steal ships, diseases that can destroy whole planets, and worst of all, the Devourers." When Veltar said that word, every alien in the room became quiet. Some made scared noises. Others moved closer together. Even the brave Crix warriors clicked their claws nervously. But Deho just nodded. "Please tell me more about these Devourers," he said. Hana felt surprised. Most species begged not to hear about the Devourers. They were too scared. But this human wanted to know more. "The Devourers are a race that eats planets," Veltar explained. "They travel in huge fleets, millions of ships. They come to a solar system and eat everything, the planets, the moons, even the star. They turn it all into more ships and more Devourers." "How long have they been doing this?" Deho asked. "For thousands of years," Hana answered. "They have eaten hundreds of worlds. Entire species have been wiped out. What weapons do they use?" Deho asked next. The question made everyone uncomfortable. Most species did not want to think about fighting the Devourers. They just wanted to run away and hide. "They use energy weapons that can cut through any metal," said General Thex, a large Crix warrior. "Their ships can heal themselves. When you destroy one, it just grows back together." "How many ships in a typical fleet?" Deho asked. "Sometimes 1 million. Sometimes 10 million, General Thex replied. "No one has ever fought them and lived to count exactly." Deho wrote notes on a small device. He asked about their tactics, their speed, their weaknesses. He asked like a soldier planning for war, not like someone learning about monsters to avoid. "Why do you want to know all this?" Hana asked. "Knowledge is always useful," Deho said simply. The rest of the meeting went normally. The humans answered questions about their technology, their government, their culture. They were given maps of safe trade routes and lists of council laws. But Hana kept thinking about how calm Deho had been when hearing about the Devourers. Every other species had the same reaction: fear, horror, a desperate need to know how to run away and hide. The humans just wanted to know how to fight. When the meeting ended, the council voted to give humans probationary membership. They could trade with other species and visit council stations. In 1 year, there would be another vote to make them full members. As the aliens left the meeting hall, Hana walked over to Deho. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course," he said. "When we told you about the Devourers, you were not afraid." "Why?" Deho thought for a moment. Fear does not help you solve problems. Understanding does. But the devourers cannot be fought. Everyone knows this. The only way to survive is to run away. That is what everyone believes, yes. Deho agreed. But beliefs can be wrong. Hana felt a chill run through her body. This human was talking about fighting something that had destroyed countless worlds. He spoke about it like it was just another problem to solve. Have humans ever faced something like the devourers before? She asked. Not exactly like them, Deho said, but we have faced impossible enemies before. Sometimes running away is smart. Sometimes fighting is necessary. The hard part is knowing which is which. As Deho walked away with his small team, Hana watched them go. She had met many species in her long career. She could usually understand how they thought, what they feared, what they wanted. But these humans were different. They looked at the greatest terror in the galaxy and saw only a problem to study and solve. Hana did not know if that made them very brave or very dangerous, maybe both. 3 months passed since the humans joined the Galactic Council. Hana had almost forgotten about her strange conversation with Deho. The humans were quiet members. They traded fairly, followed the rules, and asked good questions during meetings. Then the sensors detected something terrible. Commander, called her communications officer. We are getting emergency signals from the outer rim. Long-range scanners show a massive fleet moving toward the colonies. Hana rushed to the scanner station. The screen showed thousands of moving dots all heading in the same direction. Her blood went cold when she saw how many there were. How many ships? She asked. Over 2 million, Commander, and they are all the same design. Hana knew what that meant. Only one race traveled in fleets that large. Only one race had ships that all looked exactly the same. Send emergency signals to all council members, she ordered. Tell them the devourers are moving toward Sector 7. All colonies in their path must evacuate immediately. Within hours, the great meeting hall was full again. But this was not a happy gathering. Representatives from dozens of species sat in worried groups. Everyone was talking at once, making plans to run away. Hana looked around for the human delegation. She found them sitting calmly in their assigned seats. Deho was there again, along with a new human she had not met before. This one wore a military uniform with many medals. Attention, council members, called Veltar. We face a grave threat. The devourers are moving toward the outer rim colonies. We estimate they will reach the first inhabited systems in 6 weeks. The hall erupted in worried voices. Species after species stood up to report their evacuation plans. The Theron colonies will be emptied within 2 weeks, announced their crystal-bodied representative. Crick's evacuation fleets are already moving, clicked General Thex. We will save as many as possible. The Morathi are withdrawing all settlements, whispered their gaseous delegate. One by one, every species reported the same thing. They were running away, packing up their colonies and fleeing to safer space. What about the human colonies? Veltar asked. The military human stood up. I am Jin Wu, representing Earth's Space Forces. Our colonies will remain in place. The hall went completely silent. Hana stared at Jin Wu in shock. Had she heard him correctly? Did you say remain? Asked Veltar. Surely you mean evacuate. No, Jin Wu said calmly. I mean remain. Our colonies are not evacuating. The silence broke as everyone started talking at once. Aliens shouted questions and warnings. Some thought the humans did not understand what was coming. Perhaps you do not fully understand, said General Thex, standing up to his full, impressive height. The devourers cannot be fought. They have destroyed civilizations that were older and stronger than yours. Running away is not cowardly. It is smart. We understand the threat, Jin Wu replied. We have studied all available records of devourer attacks. We know what they can do. Then why are you not evacuating? Demanded the Theron representative. Because we choose not to, Deho said, speaking for the first time. We have decided to defend our colonies. Hana felt that same chill she had experienced 3 months ago. The humans were serious. They really planned to fight the devourers. This is madness, said Veltar. No species has ever successfully defended against a devourer fleet. The best military minds in the galaxy have studied this problem for centuries. The only solution is evacuation. With respect, Jin Wu said. Those military minds all think the same way. They have all reached the same conclusion because they all make the same assumptions. What assumptions? General Thex asked, his voice sharp with anger. That survival is the most important goal, Jinwoo answered. That preserving your population matters more than preserving your territory. That living to fight another day is always better than fighting today. Those are not assumptions, General Thek snapped. Those are facts. Dead soldiers cannot protect anyone. Sometimes they can, Daeho said quietly. The hall went silent again. Hana studied the human's face. He was completely serious. Explain, she demanded. On our world we have a saying, Daeho continued. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Sometimes the only way to protect what you love is to be willing to die for it. That is suicide, said the Marathi delegate. No, Jinwoo corrected. Suicide is giving up. We are not giving up. We are fighting, Hana stood up. As the council's military advisor, she had to make them understand. Listen to me, humans. I have studied every devourer attack in recorded history. They have never been defeated. Not once, not ever. Species that try to fight them do not just lose some ships. They lose everything. Their entire civilization gets eaten. We know the risks, Daeho said. Do you? Hana challenged. Do you know that devourer ships heal themselves? Do you know they learn from every battle and adapt their tactics? Do you know that they turn the matter from destroyed planets into new ships and weapons? Yes, Jinwoo answered. We know all of that. Then you know you cannot win. We know the odds are very bad, Daeho agreed. But we also know that someone has to try. Why? Hana asked. Why does someone have to try? Why can you not just evacuate like everyone else? Daeho looked around the hall at all the alien faces watching him. Because if we do not try, then no one will. And if no one ever tries, then the devourers will keep eating worlds forever. Better that than losing everything in a hopeless fight, said Veltar. Is it? Daeho asked. How many worlds have been lost while everyone ran away? How many species have gone extinct because no one was willing to make a stand? Many, admitted General Thex, but at least some survived to fight another day. When? Jinwoo asked. When is that other day? When will the galaxy decide to stop running and start fighting? No one answered. They could not answer, because the truth was that the other day would never come. The galactic species had been running away for so long that they had forgotten how to do anything else. We are not asking anyone else to fight, Daeho said. We are not criticizing your choice to evacuate. We understand why you run, but please try to understand why we cannot. I do not understand, Hana said honestly. Your choice makes no logical sense. Logic is not the only thing that matters, Daeho replied. Sometimes you have to choose between what is smart and what is right. We have chosen what we believe is right. The meeting ended with most species still confused and worried about the humans. Evacuation plans continued. Transport ships moved toward the outer rim to collect fleeing colonists, but the human colonies stayed where they were. Their defense fleets moved into position. Their soldiers prepared for war. Hana watched the tactical displays with growing unease. In 6 weeks, the most dangerous force in the galaxy would reach human space. And instead of running away like every sane species would do, the humans were getting ready to fight. She did not know whether to admire their courage or pity their foolishness. Maybe there was no difference. The weeks passed too quickly. Hana spent most of her time watching the tactical screens, tracking the approaching devourer fleet. It was bigger than anyone had expected. The latest count showed over 3 million ships, all moving steadily toward human space. Every other species had finished evacuating their colonies. The outer rim was almost empty now except for the humans. They had not moved a single person. Commander? Her communications officer called. We are receiving human military transmissions. Should we monitor them? Yes, Hana said immediately. She needed to understand what the humans were thinking. The first transmission made her blood run cold. All defense stations, this is Admiral So Young. Enemy fleet will reach Colony 7 in 18 days. Begin final preparations. Fortify all positions. Arm all civilians. This is not a drill. Hana stared at the screen. The humans were not just refusing to evacuate. They were turning their colonies into battlefields. They were giving weapons to ordinary people who had never fought before. Get me a direct line to the human delegation, she ordered. A few minutes later, Daeho's face appeared on her screen. He looked tired but calm. Commander Hana, he said. How can I help you? I have been listening to your military communications, she said. You are arming civilians. You are preparing children's schools as bunkers. What are you doing? We are getting ready to defend our homes, Deho answered simply. This is madness. Send me the locations of your colonies. We can still evacuate them. The council will provide transport ships. Thank you for the offer, but we decline. Hana felt her patterns glow brighter with frustration. Do you understand what you are doing? You are condemning millions of your own people to death. We are giving them a choice, Deho corrected. Every human in the Outer Rim colonies has been offered evacuation to Earth. Some have accepted. Most have chosen to stay and fight. Why would they choose to die? They are not choosing to die. They are choosing to live as free people rather than as refugees. Hana cut the transmission and turned to her staff. Show me detailed scans of the human colonies. What she saw on the screens amazed and horrified her. The humans had turned every inhabited world into a fortress. Space stations bristled with new weapons. Asteroid fields had been mined and turned into defensive barriers. Even small research outposts had been armed with missiles and shields. How did they do all this so quickly? She wondered aloud. Our analysis suggests they have been preparing for months, her tactical officer reported. These defenses were not built after the Devourers were detected. They were already being constructed. Months. Hana felt confused. But the Devourer fleet was only discovered 3 weeks ago. Yes, Commander. The humans began building these defenses before we knew there was a threat. Hana studied the data more carefully. The human defenses were not random. They followed a clear pattern designed to channel attacking fleets into specific areas where they could be hit from multiple directions. Get me more information. About human military doctrine, she ordered. Her intelligence staff worked through the night, gathering every piece of data they could find about human warfare. What they discovered shocked everyone on the ship. Humans had been fighting wars for their entire history. Not just occasional conflicts like other species, but constant, brutal wars that never seemed to end. They had developed weapons and tactics that the galaxy had never seen. Commander, her intelligence officer reported, humans have fought over 14,000 documented wars in the last 5,000 years. Their entire civilization is built around conflict. That explains their weapons technology, her tactical officer added. Look at these specifications. Their missiles are faster than ours. Their shields are more efficient. Their ships are designed to keep fighting even after taking massive damage. Hana felt a chill of understanding. The humans were not brave fools rushing into hopeless battle. They were a warrior species that had been preparing for this kind of fight their whole lives. 2 weeks before the Devourers arrived, she received another call from Deho. Commander, I wanted to give you a final status report, he said. Are you finally going to evacuate? She asked hopefully. No, we are ready to fight. Hana looked at him through the screen. She had to ask the question that had been bothering her for weeks. Deho, I need to understand something. Every species in the galaxy knows the Devourers cannot be defeated. When we face them, we run. It is not cowardly. It is practical. It is how we survive. But you do not run. Why? Why do you stay and fight when you know you will lose? Deho was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was calm and certain. You ask why we do not flee. But I have a question for you. If everyone always runs away, who will ever make them stop? No one, Hana admitted. But that is reality. The Devourers are too strong. Are they? Or do we just think they are because no one has ever really tried to fight them? Millions of people have tried to fight them. They all died. No, Deho said. Millions of people have been killed by them. That is not the same as fighting them. Fighting means you plan to win. Fighting means you study your enemy and find their weaknesses. Fighting means you accept that victory might cost everything. But you try anyway. Hana felt that familiar chill. And if you are wrong, if they really cannot be defeated, then we will die free, Deho said simply. And maybe the next species will learn something from our death that helps them fight better. Why? Hana asked desperately. Why does it have to be humans who make the sacrifice? Deho smiled sadly. Because someone has to. And we are here. The conversation ended, but Hana could not stop thinking about his words. She had seen many species face danger. They all had the same reaction. Calculate the odds, minimize the risk, preserve as many lives as possible. But humans calculated differently. They did not just think about how many would survive. They thought about what kind of life the survivors would have. 1 week before the battle, she received intelligence reports that made her question everything she thought she knew. Commander, her analysis team reported, we have been studying human defensive preparations. Their tactics are unusual. How so? They are not trying to win a traditional battle. They are trying to make conquest too expensive. Hana studied the tactical plans her team had decoded. The humans were not planning to destroy the Devourer fleet. They were planning to make the Devourers pay such a high price for every world that they would decide the conquest was not worth the cost. It was a strategy no other species had ever attempted. It required accepting massive losses in exchange for inflicting smaller but more expensive losses on the enemy. Will it work? She asked. Unknown, Commander. No one has ever tried anything like this before. As the Devourer fleet entered the edge of human space, Hana found herself holding her breath. In a few days, she would learn whether the humans were the bravest species in the galaxy or the most foolish. Maybe both. The battle began exactly as everyone expected it would. The Devourer fleet hit the first human colony like a massive wave of destruction. 3 million ships against a few thousand human defenders. The odds were impossible. Hana watched the tactical displays from the Nexus Prime, positioned safely outside the combat zone. Her entire bridge crew stared at the screens in horrified fascination. First contact at Colony 7, her tactical officer reported. Human defensive fleet engaging. The initial exchange was brutal. Devourer energy weapons tore through human ships like they were made of paper. In the first hour, the humans lost half their defending fleet. They should retreat now, General Thex said. He had come to observe the battle, along with representatives from several other species. They have fought bravely, but this is hopeless. But the humans did not retreat. As their ships were destroyed, the survivors regrouped and kept fighting. When their main battle fleet was wiped out, smaller ships emerged from hidden positions in the asteroid belt. What are those? Hana asked, pointing at the screen. Mining ships, her intelligence officer reported. Cargo haulers, even civilian transports. They have been armed with weapons. Civilians are fighting? General Thex sounded shocked. The answer came through an intercepted human transmission. A woman's voice, calm and determined. This is Captain Yu Jin, commanding Colonial Defense Force. All civilian vessels begin attack run 7. Remember, we do not need to win. We just need to make them pay. Hana watched in amazement as hundreds of small human ships swarmed the Devourer fleet. They were tiny compared to the enemy vessels, but they fought with desperate courage. When a human ship was damaged, it did not retreat. Instead, it rammed itself into the nearest Devourer ship. They are using their ships as weapons, her tactical officer said, his voice filled with disbelief. Suicide attacks, General Thex muttered. This is madness, but Hana was beginning to see the pattern. Each human ship that destroyed itself took out a much larger Devourer vessel. The humans were trading one ship for 10, one life for 100. It was still a losing trade, but it was better than anyone else had ever managed. The battle for Colony 7 lasted 6 days. When it ended, the colony was destroyed and most of its defenders were dead, but something unprecedented had happened. The Devourer fleet had lost over 30,000 ships. No one had ever hurt them that badly before. Devourer fleet moving to Colony 4, the tactical officer reported. The second battle was different. The humans had learned from the first fight and so had the Devourers. But the humans adapted faster. Commander Tae-sung led the defense of Colony 4 from a battle cruiser that had been heavily modified with armor and weapons. His tactics were unlike anything in the galactic military textbooks. Human forces are using asteroid mining charges as weapons, Hana's tactical officer reported. They are detonating entire asteroid fields when Devourer ships pass through them. Effective? She asked. Very. They destroyed over 500 enemy ships in one explosion. The Devourers adapted quickly, avoiding the asteroid fields. But then the humans did something else unexpected. They used their own space stations as weapons, setting them to explode when enemy ships came too close. They are destroying their own infrastructure, General Thex observed. Yes, Hana agreed. They care more about hurting the enemy than preserving their own possessions. Colony 4 fell after 8 days of fighting, but it cost the Devourers 60,000 ships. The human defenders had gotten better at making each death count. Devourer fleet moving to Colony 2, came the next report. By now, representatives from dozens of species had come to watch the battle. No one could believe what they were seeing. The humans were losing every fight, but they were making the Devourers pay a price that no other species had ever extracted. At Colony 2, Admiral So Young commanded the defense from the planet's surface. The human strategy had evolved again. Instead of fighting in space, they let the Devourers land on their worlds. Then they turned the planets themselves into battlefields. Surface-to-orbit missile batteries, the tactical officer reported. The humans have turned their entire planet into a weapon platform. Hana watched as human ground forces fought the Devourer landing parties in the streets of their own cities. When they lost a city, they destroyed it rather than let the enemy use it. When they lost a continent, they triggered massive explosions that cracked the planet's crust. They are destroying their own world, whispered the Theron representative. To deny it to the enemy, Hana realized, they would rather have nothing than let the Devourers have it. Colony 2 was consumed, but it took the Devourers 3 weeks and cost them over 100,000 ships. The human defenders had fought for every building, every street, every room. Devourer fleet moving to Colony 1, the tactical officer announced. But something had changed. The Devourer fleet was smaller now. They had lost almost 200,000 ships fighting the humans. More importantly, they were moving more slowly, more carefully. They are afraid, Hana realized with shock. Afraid? General Thex laughed. The Devourers do not feel fear. Look at their formation, Hana pointed to the tactical display. They are bunched together for mutual protection. They are avoiding asteroid fields. They are scanning more carefully before they attack. That is not the behavior of a confident predator. That is the behavior of something that has been hurt. At Colony 1, the humans had prepared their final surprise. Commander Hyun-soo led a defense fleet that seemed smaller than the others. But when the Devourers attacked, they discovered the truth. The humans had hidden most of their remaining ships inside the planet itself, in massive underground hangars. When the Devourers committed to their assault, thousands of human ships erupted from the planet's surface like an explosion of metal and fire. Ambush tactics, the tactical officer reported. The humans let the enemy think they were weak, then attacked when the Devourers were spread out and vulnerable. It was the most successful human battle yet. Colony 1 was still destroyed, but the cost to the Devourers was enormous. Over 300,000 ships lost, including several of their largest command vessels. Devourer fleet is withdrawing, the tactical officer announced, his voice filled with disbelief. Withdrawing? General Thex stood up. That is impossible. Devourers do not withdraw. But the tactical display showed the truth. The massive alien fleet was turning away from human space. They were leaving. Why? Hana asked. They still have over 2 million ships. They could continue the attack. Her analysis team worked frantically to understand what was happening. The answer came from an intercepted Devourer communication, translated by the ship's computers. Resource expenditure exceeds projected gain. Target species resistance factor higher than acceptable parameters. Recommend termination of current operation. Hana stared at the translation. They are treating this like a business decision. The cost has become too high, her intelligence officer explained. The humans made themselves too expensive to conquer. But they lost everything, General Thex protested. All their colonies are gone. Most of their fleet is destroyed. Yes, Hana agreed. But they won. How is total destruction a victory? Hana thought about her conversations with Daeho. Because they proved something that everyone thought was impossible. They proved that the Devourers can be fought. They proved that running away is not the only option. As the Devourer fleet disappeared into deep space, Hana felt a mixture of awe and terror. The humans had done something unprecedented. They had made the galaxy's greatest predator decide that some prey was too dangerous to hunt, but the cost had been enormous. Millions of humans were dead. Their colonies were gone. Their fleet was scattered and broken, yet somehow impossibly they had won. 6 months after the Devourers retreated, Hana stood in the rebuilt meeting hall of the Nexus Prime. The great chamber was packed with representatives from every species in the galaxy. They had all come to hear the human report on the battle that should have been impossible. At the center of the hall stood a human she had never seen before. He wore a simple military uniform with no decorations, but his eyes held the weight of recent tragedy. I am Hyun-soo, he said in the common language. I represent what remains of Earth's military forces. The hall was completely silent. Everyone wanted to hear from the species that had done the impossible. Before I begin, Hyun-soo continued, I want to be clear about the cost of our victory. 12 million humans died defending the Outer Rim colonies. Our space fleet is reduced to less than 200 ships. 4 entire worlds were destroyed. The economic damage will take decades to repair. Hana felt the weight of those numbers. 12 million people, entire worlds gone. The price had been staggering. But, Hyun-soo said, we accomplished our goal. We proved that the Devourers can be fought and defeated. We proved that running away is not the only option when faced with seemingly impossible odds. How? Called out General Thex. How did you do what no other species has ever managed? Hyun-soo smiled grimly. We changed the rules of the game. For thousands of years, every species has fought the Devourers the same way. They tried to win traditional battles. They tried to destroy the enemy fleet while preserving their own forces. That is how wars are supposed to be fought. General Thex protested. Not against the Devourers, Hyun-soo replied. Against them, traditional warfare is suicide. They have too many ships, too much firepower, too much ability to repair and adapt. You cannot beat them in a fair fight? Then how? Demanded the Theron representative. We made the fight unfair, Hyun-soo explained. We accepted that we would lose every battle, but we made sure that each loss cost them more than it was worth. We turned warfare into economics. Hana leaned forward, finally understanding the human strategy. You made conquest unprofitable. Exactly, Hyun-soo nodded. The Devourers are efficient predators. They attack targets that give them more resources than they spend in the attack. But if you can make yourself cost more to conquer than you are worth, they will eventually give up and look for easier prey. But the cost to your own people was enormous, said Veltar. Yes, Hyun-soo agreed, and every human who fought knew that. They knew they were probably going to die. They knew their homes would probably be destroyed. They fought anyway. Why? Hana asked. It was the same question she had asked Daeho months ago, but she still did not fully understand the answer. Hyun-soo looked directly at her. Because someone had to. Because if we did not make a stand, the Devourers would keep eating worlds forever. Because our children deserve to live in a galaxy where monsters can be fought and beaten. Where is Daeho? Hana asked. She had not seen the diplomat since before the battle. Hyun-soo's expression became sad. Daeho died defending Colony 2. He commanded a civilian transport that rammed a Devourer command ship. His action allowed our ground forces to hold the capital city for 3 extra days. Hana felt a stab of grief. She had disagreed with Daeho, had thought his choices were foolish, but she had respected his courage. I want to understand something, she said. During our first meeting, Daeho asked detailed questions about Devourer tactics and capabilities. Was Earth already planning to fight them? Not exactly, Hyun-soo replied. But we were preparing for the possibility. Humans have learned that peace is temporary, but war is always coming. We study every potential threat, even ones that seem impossible to fight. That level of preparation suggests your entire species thinks about war differently than we do, observed the Marathi representative. Yes, Hyun-soo admitted. Most of you evolved on worlds where cooperation was necessary for survival. You learned to avoid conflict, to find peaceful solutions, to preserve life above all else. Those are good lessons, but Hana sensed there was more. But humans evolved differently. Our world was harsh and competitive. We learned that sometimes conflict is unavoidable. We learned that some things are worth fighting for, even if the cost is terrible. We learned that the only way to have peace is to be ready for war. The hall erupted in discussion. Some representatives were horrified by the human mindset. Others were fascinated. A few seemed thoughtful, as if reconsidering their own assumptions about conflict and survival. What happens now? Asked Veltar. The Devourers are still out there. They may return with a larger fleet. They may, Hyun-soo agreed. But it will not be the same kind of attack. They know now that humans will fight back. They know that conquering us costs more than leaving us alone. That knowledge changes everything. How? General Thex asked. Other species will study what we did. Some will adopt similar tactics. The next time the Devourers attack someone, they may face real resistance instead of just evacuation. The more species that learn to fight back, the less profitable conquest becomes. Hana began to see the larger picture. You are trying to change how the entire galaxy responds to the Devourers. We are trying to teach the galaxy that monsters are only unstoppable if everyone believes they are unstoppable, Hyun-soo said. Once you prove that they can be hurt, other people will find ways to hurt them even more. Over the following weeks, human military advisors met with representatives from other species. They shared tactical data, defensive strategies, and most importantly, a new way of thinking about seemingly hopeless conflicts. Some species were not interested. They preferred the safety of evacuation to the risks of resistance, but others began to modify their own defensive strategies, incorporating human ideas about asymmetric warfare and economic targeting. Hana found herself thinking often about her conversations with Daeho. She had asked him why humans did not run away like every other species. His answer had seemed simple at the time, but she was beginning to understand its deeper meaning. Someone had to make a stand. Someone had to prove that resistance was possible. Someone had to pay the price for everyone else's freedom. The humans had chosen to be that someone. They had accepted terrible losses to prove a point that might save countless other worlds in the future. 3 months later, Hana received reports of another Devourer fleet approaching the Outer Rim, but this time the response was different. Instead of evacuating, several species announced they would follow the human example and fight back. The Second Devourer War lasted only 2 weeks. Faced with determined resistance from multiple species using human tactics, the alien fleet withdrew after suffering heavy losses in their first few attacks. Hana read the battle reports with amazement. The humans had done more than win a single battle. They had changed the nature of warfare in the galaxy. They had proven that predators could become prey if their victims were willing to fight hard enough, but the cost remained enormous. Human space was still scarred from the First War. Entire star systems were empty ruins. The human fleet was slowly rebuilding, but it would take years to return to its former strength. Hana often wondered if the price had been worth it. 12 million people dead to prove a philosophical point about courage and resistance. Entire worlds destroyed to teach the galaxy a lesson about standing up to bullies. She thought about Daeho's final words. Because someone has to. Maybe that was enough. Maybe some prices were worth paying. Not for immediate gain, but for the knowledge that monsters could be fought and beaten. Maybe the galaxy needed a species crazy enough to stand and fight when everyone else ran away. The humans had volunteered to be that species. They had accepted the role of guardian, protector, the ones who fought the battles others could not face. Hana was not sure if that made them heroes or madmen. Perhaps there was no difference. Perhaps heroes were just madmen who happened to be right about what was worth fighting for. As she watched human patrol ships guarding the borders of known space, standing watch against threats that others preferred to ignore, Hana finally understood what Daeho had tried to tell her. Someone had to guard the Guardians. Someone had to be willing to pay any price to keep the monsters at bay. Someone had to believe that some things were worth more than survival. The humans had chosen to be that someone. The galaxy would never be the same.